The floor that goes up forever. Part 1 of 4. The elevator doors opened on the 34th floor and Rafiq stepped out into a hallway that smelled like fresh paint over something older. He had been hired 3 weeks ago to audit the books of the Meridian Tower Holdings Group. The client was a property management firm that owned this building exclusively. The Meridian was 40 stories of glass and dark stone rising above the city's financial district, and every single unit was listed as occupied. Rafiq had never seen a tenant come or go. He had been visiting the management office on the 34th floor every morning for 3 weeks. He arrived at 8:06. In that time, not one resident had used the elevator alongside him. Not one door in the hallway had opened. Not one voice had drifted through the walls. He told himself it was the kind of building where people kept to themselves. He was very good at telling himself reasonable things. The management office was at the end of the hall, behind a frosted glass door stenciled with the word UNTOLD AUR's personnel. Inside, a woman named Petra Voss ran the operation with the precise warmth of a bank teller. She was always already seated when he arrived. He had never seen her stand up. The ledgers she handed him each morning were immaculate. Every figure entered in the same thin blue ink. Every column summed to the penny. It was the most beautiful set of books Rafiq had ever audited. And that was the first thing that frightened him. In 20 years as a forensic accountant, he had learned one absolute truth: perfect books meant someone had worked very hard to make them look that way. On the morning of day 16, he found the first number that should not exist. It was buried in a sub-ledger for building maintenance under a line item labeled OC SuperOLTYCLE. The figure 1. He stared at it for a long time. 1,440 was not a currency amount. It was not a square footage. It was not any unit of measurement that belonged in a maintenance ledger. It was the exact number of minutes in a single day. He wrote it down in his notebook and said nothing to Petra. He came back the next morning and the number had changed. It now read 2880. Exactly 2 days' worth of minutes. He turned the page with steady hands and found the same figure repeated in 7 different sub-ledgers, each one incremented by exactly 140 from the last. Someone was counting days. Someone was counting them in minutes, hiding the count inside a financial document, and they had been doing it for a very long time. He counted backward from the most recent entry. The sequence began 473 days ago. He flipped to the original ledger entry for that date. The line item above the number read Unit 31 Furkli. He looked up Unit 31 to the occupancy register. It was listed as occupied NAOCR. He sat very still in the management office with a fluorescent light humming above him. His own name, in a ledger entry dated 473 days ago, before he had ever been hired, before he had ever heard of the Meridian. He closed the ledger and placed it carefully on the desk. He picked up his messenger bag. He walked to the elevator and pressed the button for the lobby. The elevator arrived. He stepped in. The doors closed. The numbers descended. Lobby. The doors opened. He stepped out into the marble foyer. The doorman at the front desk nodded without looking up. Rafiq walked to the revolving glass door and pushed through it. He stood on the pavement outside and breathed cold city air and looked up at the building above him. 40 floors of dark glass. Every window lit from within with the same soft amber glow. He counted the floors. He counted them again. There were 41 floors. He had never noticed a 41st floor. There was no 41st floor listed on any schematic he had audited. He stood on the pavement and stared at the light in the window of the 41st floor, and the light stared back. His own name was in the ledger, entered 473 days before he was ever hired. And above the 41st floor window, a tall figure in a charcoal suit stood perfectly still, facing down. That's it for part 1. Follow Untold Lores for part 2. Like and subscribe for daily stories.